الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب السماوات ورب الأرض رب العالمين، وله الكبرياء في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. الحمد لله الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات. ربنا لك الحمد حتى ترضى، ولك الحمد إذا رضيت، ولك الحمد بعد الرضا. صل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيد الأولين والآخرين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله آمين على وحيه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. Dear respected brother and sister in Islam, all praise and glory and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala everything we have. وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نَعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. And we are dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all our needs. All your needs are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You work hard for them, but also you pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you your needs. And you show your gratitude for what Allah has given you and your dependence on Him for your needs. These are very strong foundations for our iman. Shukr and faqr ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or dependence on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My dear respected brother and sister in Islam, just quick note. Last week we were reminded of something very important that we need to remember all the time. I'm sure you heard of this very famous soccer player, very young, very healthy, very rich, driving very luxury car, and yet he had an accident and died, him and his brother. To tell you that nobody can think that death is far away. This is a person in the peak of his career. Very successful club career, very successful national career. He just got married, and as I said, there is nothing, young, healthy, it's an athlete, driving a very safe car, and yet death was in the way. Just to remind ourselves that we need always to be actively prepared to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that can happen any moment. Don't think that you are too healthy or too young for that. Close parenthesis, we continue inshallah our series. Maybe we'll be able to close it, which is basically how Islam promises and guarantees happiness and success in this life and harmony at all levels. Individual, family, community, society. Islam has prescription for happiness and success and harmony. We started by talking about the key to this is faith and taqwa. One, maintaining and strengthening your iman through spiritual exercise, salah, dua, qiyam, Quran, etc. Understanding and knowledge. So the first one takes care of your spirit, ruh. Understanding and knowledge, feeding your brain and keeping it healthy. It's like you feed your body, feed your brain with the learning and applying what you learn. That will make you a better person. Every time you learn something new, that's good for the health of your mind. And then when you apply it, that's good for you. That makes you a better person. Learning about Allah, learning about deen, learning about life, learning about yourself, learning about this world. That gives you clear vision so that you are not confused or you're not overwhelmed by everything that is going on. You can add to these health. Take good care of your health through diet and exercise. And if you do that, you maintain the balance. And balance is key for harmonious life, for happy life. It's a balance between the physical needs, the spiritual, and the intellectual needs. It gives you clarity of vision. It gives you a scale to make decision and to choose. إن تتقوا الله يجعل لكم فرقانا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The strong iman and the more knowledge and understanding you have, the clearer is your vision and your ability to weigh things. Gives you energy, gives you strength, gives you motivation, and gives you discipline. Gives you the discipline to do what needs to be done, to do the right thing, and to refrain yourself and abstain from what is wrong and avoid it. All of this will help you becoming a role model. That's an essential duty of a Muslim, is to develop yourself into a role model. How you develop yourself into a role model? Through this work. Working on your spiritual health, working on your intellectual health, and working on your physical health. Also, this will make you a difficult target for shaitan. Shaitan plays on ignorance and plays on weakness. If your iman is strong, and if you are educated, you educate yourself, becomes harder for shaitan to trick you. Because shaitan plays mostly on your ignorance and on your weakness. Ignorance so that he can mislead you, weakness so that he can get you to do the wrong thing even though it is wrong. Or not to do the right thing even though you know that it is the right thing to do. So this will make you, and when you become a difficult target for shaitan, then you are on the right path. Because shaitan is the one who causes misery, distraction, all the harm that happens to individuals and families and communities. It's the work of shaitan, as Yusuf alayhi salam said, بعد أن نزغ الشيطان بيني وبين إخوتي. He was able to enter between and create that wedge between Yusuf and his brothers. One of the main conclusions of this is to come up, if you do this, you come up with the fact that this life is a mission. And Islam is a life mission. So in this life, you are on a mission, and life also is a test ground. Keep these two in mind all the time. From the time you wake up, remind yourself that you are on a mission, and time is running, the clock is ticking. And then remind yourself that you are in a test ground, so be ready to be tested. Because as long as you're living, you're going to be tested. This is important because, one, it gives a purpose for your life. That's very important to have a purpose and guiding priority, but also it makes you ready for the tests. Just to bring the idea closer, when you are busy with something and there is a deadline that is coming close, you're going to be it's very hard for you to be distracted, very unlikely. You'll be very focused. Why? Because you're busy and there is a sense of urgency because there is a deadline that is coming close. That should be your spirit in this life. This is the way you should be thinking in this life. Since the time you wake up, you have that sense of mission and sense of urgency, because shaitan plays on another factor, which is faragh, when you have nothing to do. That's where shaitan tried to fill it with something bad. So as long as you are busy, as long as you are focused, you are protected from the tricks of shaitan, who is your sworn enemy and is set out to destroy human being and to make their life miserable. That's the general framework. And we start talking about practicalities, practical things. So this general framework will keep you on track. As the Rasul ﷺ one time described, there is an exit, there is a shaitan on every exit. You are on a highway, and there is shaitan who's trying to get you out of the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With this paradigm, you will be protected. You will not be, shaitan will not be able to get you into one of his exits. Then we start talking about practicalities, and we start with one thing, which is decision making. Why decision making is important? Because that's one source of confusion and depression, and is causing people a lot of anxiety. Why? Because they don't have a healthy decision making process. And we summarize it that our deen gave us something very efficient. وشاورهم في الأمر فإذا عزمت فتوكل. Consult, gather information, get different options, and then when you make up your mind, put your trust in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and don't look back. And we discussed in details how Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us this idea, this approach of there is a time for consultation, there is a decision, there is a time for execution. No hesitation, no back and forth. Consultation, decision, and then execution. And then we emphasize the fact that if a decision is taken this way, especially if you add to it the istikhara prayer, when you pray those 2 rak'ah and you make dua to Allah to help you making the right choice when you're not sure. If you do that, your decision is good, regardless of the outcome. Regardless of the outcome, that decision is a good decision. Now, the outcome, you need to accept it and learn from it for the future, but no looking back. There is no such thing that if I did this or if I didn't, because as the Rasul said, لَوْ تَفْتَحُ بَابَ الشَّيْطَانِ. Then the second thing, the factor that we talked about that can help really creating harmony, especially in relationships, is for people to observe their limits. Don't overstep your limits. Quran calls them hudud Allah. These are boundaries or bounds that were set by Allah. In some verses it says don't overstep them. In other verses it says don't even come near to them. تلك حدود الله فلا تقربوها. تلك حدود الله فلا, don't even come near to it. So it's very important for you to know your limits in your relationship, spousal relationship, relationship with your parents, with your neighbors, with your co-workers. There is limits. And when you stick to your limits, that can spare you a lot of problems. Stick to your limits and help others stick to their limits. If other people overstep their limits, push them back, and push them back early, even in a nice way, but push them back. Because don't count on anybody to stop by themselves. If they get used to overstep their limits, they will never stop. So it's better to stop them. You do them a favor, actually. When you stop them early, you do them a favor and you help maintaining that relationship. Because there is a limit for you on how much you can accept. You can tolerate the first step, they will go for the second. You tolerate the second until it becomes so hard to push them back. So you do them a favor when you push them back early. Even nice way, even if you tolerate it, but draw the line. Wake them up. Tell them that you have crossed your limits. I let it go this time, but please don't do it again, so that they don't get used to it and it doesn't become a habit or entitlement. The third thing that can be very, very helpful in managing to have a healthy life and happy life is to remember your taklif. What is your taklif? Your taklif is your duty, your responsibility. And this is something that you remember. You need to remember both in your roles and in the situation that you face. I'm going to explain this more. We all have certain roles to fulfill. And we need to know the job description of that role and do it in the best possible way, to the best of our abilities. And we all face situations. And also we need to know in that situation what is your calling, what is your duty, what is that Allah expects you to do, what is it that the Prophet ﷺ would do in that situation, and do it. And as we learned before, every time you face a choice or a decision or a situation, there is always the call of Allah and there is the call of shaitan. And you have to be aware which is which. Shaitan ya'idukum al-faqr. Somebody is calling for donation. Allah, the call of Allah is to encourage you to do it. The call of shaitan is to remind you of your bills and your obligations so that you don't donate. And the choice is yours. And that applies to everything. Applies to every situation, every context. There is the call of Allah and there is the call of shaitan, and it's your choice and your decision. So knowing your duties and fulfilling them can be very helpful. Imagine in a family or in a community or at any levels, everybody knows their duties and they're fulfilling them. Things will be so smooth and very harmonious. And also stick to your rights. Stick to your rights, fulfill your duties, and hold on to your rights. The main difference between advanced societies and societies that are backwards is this. In advanced societies, people know their duties and they fulfill them, and know their rights and they hold on to them. In backward society, it's a mess. Nobody is fulfilling their duties, and nobody's rights and duties are mixed up. You go to administration to issue some papers, you never know what to expect. Things are very, very, very chaotic. Same thing applies to family, applies everywhere. When people know their duties and fulfill them, things become very smooth and harmonious. Now, in this life, what is our duty? What is our job description in this life? Our job description in this life is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assigned us a mission. So we need to know it and fulfill it to the best of our ability. That's fulfilling your taklif, fulfilling the duties and the obligations of your role. Now, what is the job description of someone as a spouse, husband or wife? As a spouse is to understand your spouse and make them happy, to partner with them to build and establish happy and harmonious family. That's the job that is mentioned in Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ جَعَلَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Another of his signs, the sign of Allah, is that He created spouses from among yourselves for you to live with in tranquility. So that's the job of both spouses, is to achieve that tranquility, to live with in tranquility. He ordained love and kindness between you. So people should not deviate from that. They should know that their job is to build that partner, cooperate, to establish that harmonious and happy family. And the way to do that is what? Is to understand spouse and cooperate. Understand and cooperate and try to make your spouse happy and to get the best out of them. You know, when you deal with a person, you can deal with that person to get the best out of that person. But also you can deal with that person to get the worst. Spouses are supposed to deal with each other to get the best of each one, not the opposite. Any other thought is a thought from shaitan. Any other thought that comes to a spouse other than this is a thought from shaitan. Idea of controlling, dominating, changing, all these are satanic thoughts. These are thoughts coming because the call of Allah, understand, partner, make them happy, etc. Try to achieve that tranquility in the house. Call of shaitan is everything else. Anything else that comes to your mind in dealing with your spouse is a call from shaitan. And don't underestimate the ability of shaitan to change your duty and even to invert it. Makes you do exactly the opposite of what you're supposed to do. Spouses will be working hard to make the life of their spouse miserable, even though their duty is exactly the opposite. And can shaitan do this? Yes, he can. He did it. And we spent a couple of khutbah on Surah Yusuf alayhi salam. What's the job, what's the duty of older brothers toward their younger brother? What's the duty? What is it that Allah expects? Take good care of them, buy them things and etc. Shaitan managed to take that off and put something exactly the opposite. It became the job of the older brother to kill their younger brother. Do you need any example that is more clear than this? So be careful, because he can drag you into doing exactly the opposite of what you're supposed to do. Always remember, what is my taklif, what is my job description in this role, and fulfill it to the best of your ability. As a parent, what's your job description toward your children? To be a role model, to nurture them, to educate them, to instill in them faith and values and principles. Tarbiyah. A lot of time people will fail to do this. And sometimes you find parents fighting with their children all the time. That's not your job. You're doing something wrong. That's not, you're supposed to be the role model. You're supposed to be educating, mentoring, nurturing, uplifting, etc. So that's your role. You give up or you abandon or you neglect that role, and you end up doing something very different. So it is very important to remember this idea of taklif. What is my taklif? What is my calling, my duties, my responsibility, my job description in this role? And the same thing applies to the situation that you face. You face a situation when you need to make a choice or a decision. You need to distinguish what is expected, what is the call of Allah, what is the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and therefore avoid the call of shaitan and do not answer. And by the way, in the relationships, whether it is between spouses or between parents and children, one key factor to have those successful relationships is to accept and respect. Accept the person and respect them. Accept and respect. Forget about changing or controlling, or accept and respect and try to understand. That's the key to any successful and harmonious relationship. Next on the list is communications. That's critical at all collective levels. And one major problem, we talked last time that one major source of problems is people overstepping their limits. Another major source of problem is unhealthy communication. A lot of problems, they start very small, but because people, they don't know how to communicate, it turns into a crisis. Tell me how good your communication, how good and healthy the communication, I can tell you how good and healthy the relationship. What is a healthy communication? Listening. Listening. Listening to understand, not to argue, not to refute. Listening to understand. And it's better even to have an active listening, which is, wait a minute, what did you mean by this? This is what I understood. Is it right or not? Make sure that you understand before even you talk or before you respond. Listening, and listening with respect. What destroys relationships is lack of respect. Listens with respect. And listen and then communicate, looking for solutions, not to win arguments. You can win all the arguments, but lose all the people. It's not about winning arguments. It's about reaching a solution. So you and the other person, you are on one side facing a problem, not facing one another. You're not in a confrontations. We are together looking for a solution to a problem. And be ready to compromise. Be willing to compromise. This idea of everybody trying to force their way will lead nowhere. So be ready to compromise. Especially if the matter does not require a decision. There is no point. We can agree to disagree. We can keep, each one of us keeps their own opinion. And that applies in all relationships. Now, one thing that can make relationship healthy is to have a clear decision-making process. Clear decision-making process. Now the problem is, especially at the level of family, you cannot have voting or democracy or majority between two spouses. So there should be, again, willingness to look and find compromises. And also something can be very helpful is a division of labor. That there are some area left for the wife to decide, and some areas left for the husband to decide, and the gray area, that's where we need to find solution and look for compromises. Otherwise, things will not work. A lot of problems is when spouses interfere in each other or fight for the same role. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created man and women to complement one another, not to fight for the same role. And fighting is always a recipe for failure. وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. So it's not about winning arguments or forcing your way, because that never worked and never will. And please, when you're dealing with each other, keep the expectation and the standard high. If you come to your child and you say you are a failure and you are a loser, etc., you're lowering the standard. Keep the standard high. Always make it clear for your child that you are better than this, or what is expected from you is more than that, or what you are capable of, you are capable of more than this. So keep the standard and the expectations high, don't lower them. Next is sidq. That's critical. If you want to live a happy life and with that peace of mind and tranquility, never lie. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "عليكم بالصدق فإن الصدق يهدي إلى البر وإن الصدق يهدي إلى البر وإن البر لا يهدي إلى الجنة." Sidq, truthfulness and honesty, is the key for all good manners. Bir, it's the key to all good manners, and this will lead to heaven. So make sure that you never exaggerate, you never say half-truth. It's truthfulness, and try to be very careful and try to be 100% truthful, because unfortunately this is one of those manners that cannot be partial. You cannot say this person is partially sadiq. There is no such thing. Is it trustworthy or not? We trust their word or we don't. So never lie, and never say something that if it is known, it will embarrass you. لا تقل شيئا تعتذر منه. Never say something that if it is exposed or known, or never do something, it will embarrass you. That will make you live very peaceful life, because you are not hiding anything from people, and you are not afraid, you are not doing anything or saying anything that will embarrass you. And by the way, there is no such thing that I'm going to tell you this, but please don't tell anybody. That does not exist. If it comes out of your mouth, it's gone. So when you speak as if everybody is present, because don't rely on anybody to keep it for themselves. So speak as if everybody, especially those who are involved, as if they are present, so that if they come to know what you say, it will not embarrass you. So don't say or do anything that can embarrass you. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us, "Ta'inu ala qada'i hawaijikum bis-sirri wal-kitman." Seek help to accomplish your tasks or your goals through confidentiality. Confidentiality. Keep it. So if you put all of these together, you come to the conclusion that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam summarized in a very short hadith when he says, "Man kana minkum yu'minu billahi wal yawm al-akhir falyaqul khayran aw liyasmut." Whoever believes in Allah and the hereafter, let him say something good or keep quiet. So the norm is for you to be quiet, because this can cause a lot of trouble. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Mu'adh radiyallahu anhu that most people end up in hellfire because of their tongues. وَهَلْ يَكُبُّ النَّاسَ فِي النَّارِ عَلَى وُجُوهِهِمْ إِلَّا حَصَادُ أَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. That's in the hereafter. But in this life, that's the source of all trouble. So The more you keep quiet, the better. And when you want to say something, remember this hadith. Let him say something good or keep quiet. So something has to be truthful, has to be useful, should not harm anybody. If you put all these conditions, then it's better to just stay quiet for as long as you can. So controlling your tongue is very important for you. Forget about harming others. Even before that, for you, when you control your tongue, you never say something, you never lie, you never say something that will embarrass you, and you stick to this hadith when you say something good or you keep quiet. Try it. Try it for a couple of days and you will see what kind of peace and tranquility is in your mind. If all the people you know gather in one place, you're not worried because you never told anything to any one of them that will embarrass you if they reveal it. You are very comfortable, very confident, etc. So sidq is very healthy for a relationship, but also can be a key factor to achieve your own peace of mind and tranquility. These are some of the practical things that we can apply in our life, given that general paradigm that we started with. And this is part of the recipe that Islam prescribes for us, or prescription, that guarantees happiness and success and harmony, even in this very turbulent world. وَتُوبُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونتوب إليه نعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. My dear respected brother and sister in Islam, another factor that we may, inshallah, come back to it in the future if we have chance is to make effort to try to understand this world. Understand how things work and how things function, because people are overwhelmed because they don't know, they don't understand what's going on and why. So they spend a lot of time following the news and watching and bombarded with those talk shows and analysis and posts and social media, but they cannot sort things out because they don't have the tools. Acquiring those tools to be able to process information can help a lot in having that clarity of vision and protect you from being overwhelmed and confused in this world, because you can, in the same time, you can hear the news and something opposite, fact and another opposite, and to the point that people do not know, no longer know what is right and what is wrong. Equipping yourself with that background, every time there is something, go and read about it. Read about the background or the history of this conflict. Read about the CV or the bio of those key people that are involved in the issue, so that you are not superficial and you are not overwhelmed and confused by the news, because all the news, there is an agenda behind it. There is no such thing as neutral, objective news. News are all have their agenda and try to push you in a certain direction. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا توفنا وانت راض عنا واختم بالصالحات أعمالنا واجعل خير أعمالنا خواتمها وخير أيامنا يوم نلقاك. ربنا ارحم والدينا كما ربونا صغارا وارحم موتانا وجميع موتى المسلمين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. صل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وأقم الصلاة.